Throughout the Toy Story franchise, we get to see a few different sides of Buzz Lightyear's personality. His ego changes quite a bit depending on what is going on with him, and there are basically three main versions of him that stand out. In this video, let's take a closer look at each one of those versions. The very first version we meet is the Buzz from the first movie, who is completely delusional because he has no idea he is actually a toy. When he first shows up in Andy's room, he is incredibly full of himself. He genuinely thinks he is the real Buzz Lightyear and that he is on a dangerous mission to save the galaxy. Because he thinks he has such a big important purpose, he kind of looks down on everyone else and acts like they aren't as important as he is. He gets really offended at the idea of being a toy meant for a kid to play with.
Look, we're all very impressed with Andy's new toy.
Toy?
T-O-Y, toy.
Excuse me, I think the word you're searching for is Space Ranger.
To him, being a toy is the same thing as being useless or unimportant, which is why it is so sad to watch him fall apart after he finally sees that commercial on TV. His whole world falls apart because his ego doesn't just get hurt, it completely breaks. Once he realizes the truth, he has to deal with the fact that he isn't special in the way he originally thought he was. He realizes he is just one of many toys exactly like him. But that moment is actually where he starts to grow as a person. He eventually learns that being a toy for a child is actually a good thing and it doesn't make him any less valuable than a real Space Ranger. That covers the first stage of his personality. The second version comes from Toy Story 3, and that is Spanish Buzz. He is probably one of the funniest parts of the whole franchise. In that movie, his memory gets reset to demo mode by Lotso, but then later on, when Woody and the rest of the toys are trying to fix him and get him back to normal, they accidentally switch him into Spanish mode. This version of him is basically a big joke. He is extremely dramatic and does everything in a very over-the-top way. He acts a lot like he did in the first movie because he truly believes he is a Space Ranger again, but everything he does is much more exaggerated and of course, he speaks Spanish. Usually, the normal Buzz is pretty shy and doesn't have the guts to tell Jessie how he feels about her, but the Spanish version of him is very romantic and has no problem showing his feelings.
Mi florecilla del desierto. Yo nunca había visto la verdadera belleza hasta esta noche.
It's a really funny version of the character because of how much he changes. Then, we get to the version of Buzz from Toy Story 4, which is probably the version that people argue about the most. In this movie, he starts relying way too much on his inner voice, which is really just him pressing the buttons on his chest to hear his pre-recorded toy phrases. He uses these random lines to help him make every decision.
Fall back, spotted it, retreat, there's two, go, time to find, exit the get back, Ronald, get out, returning to Star Command.
Okay. Makes a lot in her voice.
A lot of people were frustrated by this because they felt like the writers made him look kind of unintelligent or like he had lost his common sense. But if you look closer, it's actually the total opposite of how he was in the first movie. In the beginning of the series, he had way too much ego, but in the fourth movie, he seems to have almost no ego or self-confidence at all. After spending so many years following strict rules, going on missions, and always being the one who follows Woody's lead, he has basically lost all trust in his own gut feelings. He has become really unsure of his own judgment and doesn't know how to act on his own anymore. Instead of just knowing what to do or believing in his own abilities, he feels like he constantly needs to be told what the next step is, even if it's just a plastic voice box giving him advice. Many people didn't like seeing him this way because it was such a big change from the other movies. The original Buzz was way too confident in himself, and the Spanish Buzz was very bold and dramatic, but this inner voice Buzz is just hesitant and seems really confused most of the time. Even though it's a bit of a weird shift for him, it's still really interesting to look at all these different versions of his personality throughout the years. Aside from Woody, Buzz is definitely my favorite character in the whole series because of how much he changes.